The question is dying to ask. Can I actually get married and have girlfriend from that?
He nailed it.
Nailed it. Thank you to all the founders, builders, operators, and the explorers for joining today's Tech Titans pod show. Whether you're here to raise smarter, scale faster, or looking to meet people like yourself, this room is built just for you. Gamification is not a gimmick. When I used to think about games, I used to think about Fortnite, because that's the only thing my son talks about. Gamification is architecture with intention. It's about designing moments that actually matter. It's about designing moments that actually connects you, makes you think, wants you to do more. It controls your behaviors, your intentions. And the best part of this, the people who are actually building this, making this movement, are in this room. Please join me to hear from these people. Guys, Rain has done a very good job, but I don't think Pod has done justice to you guys. By the way, you two look very handsome and more real in real life than what I've seen in the picture. Raina? There you go.
That's a great start, Dil. Thank you.
Look, starting with yourself, if we can just get a deep dive as to what you do, what you're about.
Yeah, sure. So Elvin Eldić, founder and managing director of the Gamified group. Listen, I've had a long career in retail operations, worked for a multinational in the foreign exchange game for about 14 years and effectively moved through the ranks pretty quickly with that. At my time during that multinational, we had a bit of a situation where I needed to bring in a new employment engagement strategy, and that's where sort of the gamification piece started to come to life back in 2014. Besides that, my background is in sports science, a bit of behavioural science as well that comes under that. We've got a great team at the Gamified group that help me deliver what we can deliver. And yeah, fast forward to present day, we're working on some pretty exciting stuff, which we're hopefully going to dig into a little bit later with you, Dil.
And yourself, Simon?
So, well, my name is Simon Hoffmann. I'm one of the founders of Gaming. Gaming is a company that we founded around almost 8 years ago. It started as a gaming console rental, which at core was all of us were gamers. But the times changed and we moved from hardware to software. And what we do, we provide custom solutions for companies here in the UAE, companies in Europe, Fortune 500 companies. From virtual reality, augmented reality, metaverses. We have done a couple of digital twins, but always with gamification in mind, using game engines such as Unity and Unreal. We have an amazing team here in the UAE. We have an amazing team in Saudi Arabia and an amazing team in Alexandria, Egypt.
Nice. Look, I'm going to start with myself. I eat, sleep, breathe sales and marketing. And we die for one thing: attention, engagement. What is it that you're doing, that gamification is doing, to make sure that in terms of marketing and sales, that we have the customers glued on and we have their attention span?
So when we built our solution, I built it because I felt the problems and was dealing with the frustrations of not having what we required by way of engaging our employees, who therefore needed to engage our customers, right? So it was sort of frustration to innovation. And what happened was, in short, we saw that, engagement was disparate, it was fragmented, performance was a number, incentives just didn't click, and it was all sort of sitting in different silos, right? And as a result of that, there needed to be something that sort of brought it into one commonality, one framework. And listen, I didn't even label it as gamification. I labeled it as something that's saying, listen, let's bring all this together so it makes sense. So the sales consultant or the employee who's serving that customer, who needs to show up for themselves, for each other, and equally for the customer, right? That they've got some kind of clear, consistent, and clarified framework of how to go about their day. And rather than sort of adopt that big stick approach, This was about, where's the big carrot, right? This push-pull concept, right? Push is command and direct, do this, chase more sales, you know how it goes, as mentioning from a sales and marketing standpoint, right? Or pull, motivate, attract, right? And then nudge, right, through guidance. And that's where sort of the foundation of what we now know as 𝐓𝐞𝐜, which is our sort of technology platform that really delivers exceptional engagement for our customers through the notion of gamification, our methodology. That's sort of where it came from. And I think it's about ensuring that there is a very clear understanding of who our audience is, right? What's their interest, what's their motivations? If you look at the research, 75% of us just get really frustrated when content is not aligned with our interests, right? And we know that because you look at Facebook and Instagram, everything's done on algorithms, and guess what? We just keep scrolling because it's engaging us, right? And customization is a huge part to that, right? So, you look at companies out there, 95% will say it's customization and tailoring the content to the need of their employee, to the customer, is what wins. So that's sort of the way that we approach it. And gamification effectively is a really clever, really fun and engaging interface to what is the mundane, right? The complex reports, the really boring data that comes through on a Monday morning for you to then have a look at what happened last week. And what we used to do traditionally is just jam these PDF reports that would be like 20 pages long down the throats of our sales consultants, thinking they should be as excited as us as managers about reading them. Guess what? They are not, right? And therefore it's about, well, then how do we actually change that format? And that's where gamification and really leaning on sport formats, fantasy football, fantasy F1, everyone's sort of engaged with these things. So it's a level of trying to bring in an entertainment that invokes the emotion of collaboration, status, flex, rank, camaraderie, right? All these elements that you traditionally find, and being a sportsman myself and being, having a sports science degree, you find that in elite leagues, you find that on the sports field, and that's where we saw this behavior really change. And I'll come onto that a little bit later.
So you mentioned marketing agencies. I have a kind of a first-hand experience because many of my clients are marketing agencies. Gamification, what it does is creates something extremely fun from something that is usually not that fun. This can come as onboarding processes. This can come about educate you about a product. To give you a statement, I always tell my clients. The problem is, like, most of the companies, they see games, they see video games as something that is for kids, that is for 15 years old. Because I myself, I have a kid, a little boy, and they see that that's what they do. They play Roblox. They don't see that in their companies, in their organizations, you have people of 35, 32 years old that play games every day. I'm one of them. And doing the same thing over and over to educate them, to teach new skills. To someone who comes back home and starts playing, grab a joystick, grab a mouse and a keyboard, and start learning all this lore of video games, and they know it back to back. Why don't you use the same tool in your company to them to learn back to back your content, back to back about your product, back to back about your service, your event, whatever you want to teach through games? So my main question always goes to the client, like, what do you want to achieve with this solution? What do you want the people, when they remove their headset, they turn off the PC, they turn off the mobile, what do you want them to remember? And based on that, we create a whole concept that delivers what they want.
Lovely. Just going to go back to your memory. I think some of you probably were in kindergarten when I said that. I'm going back 99, 2000, when they were developing website. Do you remember what's the first thing that used to happen on the header? They used to put a game on there, and you used to get addicted. Do you remember this? So when you open it, and you used to go back for this website, and obviously there was gimmicks behind it. And when I realized that, I was like, wow, I don't even have nothing to do with this. It's a logistic company, right? They were giving me games. How many containers can you get in this ship and in this space? And through this, I got a fascination into logistics and diverted from what I was doing, and I actually went into logistics. While I'm actually listening to all this, I'm getting questions come in. Picking up on engagement, I've just received one. It talks about what you've built, both of yourself, is very much a real world product that you actually implement. Where do you think startups and businesses that are failing to actually come up with concepts that work around what you've just mentioned, work around building a system that keeps not only the employee engaged, but the external people that matter to you, that give you the sales engaged?
Where are they failing?
What are the challenges? Maybe failing, not what are the challenges?
I would say the biggest challenge is to convince the decision makers of big organizations to jump into gamification. Because as I mentioned before, people sell things for kids. People still think, rankings, that's for kids, right? I mean, and we live it every day. I mean, all of us check, I don't know if any of you has Instagram or LinkedIn or any of these platforms. You get rewards every time you visit it in simple things, like a notification is a reward. It still is a gamification concept. And the biggest challenge, I would say, for me, in what I've been doing this 8 years, is to convince the decision makers that this actually is going to add value to the product, to the solution, to the workshop, or whatever, how they want to implement it. That's the biggest challenge, I would say.
So, listen, it's a great question, and it's one that we sort of keep as a core value within our business. I mean, we never take any client for granted. And the one thing, and I was having a chat to Daniel and equally Simon before, is that the one thing that we do is we ask a couple of questions to our clients. We still deem them as early adopters of our solution. What else is it that you want to see or for it to do? And give me a reason why you won't sign up with us next year, extend the subscription, right? And I think that humility sort of helps in a big way, because you've got to hear the what's working well, the WWWs we call them, and the EBIs, the even better ifs, right? And that's how the sentence should start, right? Even better if you had this or didn't do that, and we're open to that, and we sort of make sure that that's sort of a established principle with our clients. And I think, back to the point of where the challenges are, I think there's some startups out there that, and listen, I was there as well. You're very much concentrated and you believe your own hype. You're in love with your own product, it's passion, and you are blinded, right? And if you constrain yourself with some really great people, whether it's in your business that you, and give them the authority and the permission to spar with you, saying, listen, slap me around if I'm getting too deep in sort of a particular little UI piece, which is not really important in the scheme of things. And I've got some great people. My developers in Croatia. I've got Claire, who's been my ride or die sort of from a business standpoint for many, many years, and she continues to keep me on the straight and narrow. And I think that's really important, to have someone that's just sort of get out of your own head and sort of, be a little bit impartial to your passion. I think they're probably the key things for me.
Two things I just want to pick up on. So I'm into sales and marketing, and there's a formula that we use. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ABM, account-based marketing, and the BAND framework. So you have budget and you have authority and you have need and you have the time. And the one point, and I completely agree with you on this, is the authority. Because when you go into a mid-sized company, you have a CEO, has one idea, then you have the CFO, he just thinks about numbers, then you have the sales guy, and he's just, okay, so what's the sales, right? And getting to win these people and getting to understand that. When you see do that, you put a plan in place, then you win. Coming back now again on the same thing, do you have a business case or an example that you can talk us through that you did? Because a lot of people are asking me, okay, it's tech, but we are very sales oriented. We need money. Yeah. We want to put tech in there. We want to put all the applications in there. Do you have a business case that you can, or an example that you can walk us through?
We have worked with a government entity here in the UAE. That what we did, this was in the middle of the COVID craze. So we created for them a metaverse, which is, because it's currently online on their platform. It is a replica. It's a replica of their office. Which means we went there, we modeled the whole building from scratch, we loaded this into a WebGL application as a platform, then we linked this whole platform to their whole smart app backend. So whatever you can do on the app, you can do on what you can do in this metaverse platform, and that increased the traffic to the actual building, the traffic of the actual app, almost 200%. And that allowed us to jump to different other metaverses that we're currently with other clients right now, which I will prefer not to mention them right now. But when we talk about metaverses, people think, oh yeah, that's a thing from COVID. It's like, do you know how big Roblox is? Roblox is big for a reason. It's because if not 90% of all the kids now are using Roblox. They're creating solutions in Roblox. And those kids are going to end up being adults at some point. And for them, a metaverse is going to be normal. An online platform that you will go and socialize and you talk with people and it is normal. You grew up with that. And people, when usually we talk about metaverses, yeah, I know that's about COVID, it's not dead. Give it 10 years. Give it 10 years and you're going to see new solutions coming out. The more they take advance, the more easy it is to create websites that allow you to load complete universes. That will happen eventually. Not yet, not in these 3 years, but it will happen eventually because that Roblox kids will ended up being adults.
Do you have anything for us?
So as far as decision makers and how to approach them?
Yeah.
I mean,
a real example that you've had.
Yeah, listen, there's many examples. So I think in short, to your point, you've got the CEO who's like, go get something that actually makes sense for us to deliver commercial outcomes. Then you've got the HR director going, we need it to be people friendly. And you've got the finance guy going, how much is it going to cost? And on it goes, right? A day in the way we approach it, and we've had huge success with this, is saying, listen, here's what we've done for other clients. Here's the run rate growth that we've achieved, right? And back to the COVID times, and we were thankfully lucky enough that someone in a very prominent company within the UAE said, we like what you did in the past and that I saw when you were working for this multinational. I want that framework in my business.
Lovely.
And during COVID, we were able to provide year-on-year run rate growth, 8% up during the COVID time versus when it wasn't COVID. And that sort of for us sort of was the beginning of, now we've got something to really refine. Let's build some tech around this. But it's what we've done with previous clients, but also trying to firstly understand what are you trying to achieve here? What are you trying to solve for? And then also, and it breaks my heart to say this because me and Simon were having a chat earlier about saying when someone says, can you do something? You don't even let the client say, speak the rest of the sentence. Go, yes. Yep, we can do it. Of course we can. And then you work it out afterwards, right? But there has been a couple of cases I've seen where we've just said to a couple of clients saying, you know what, maybe we're not right for you. Maybe you're looking for something else. Because you can't be all things to all companies and to all people. And what we've really done this year, and I'll finish on this point, is that we've really lent into our sweet spot, what we're good at, as opposed to trying to be a bit too broad and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, where if people on the other side of the table don't understand your identity because you're trying to be all things, then how the hell can you actually make penetration in the sweet spot that you obviously are very good at? And that's sort of where we are right now.
See, that's a sweet giveaway. And it's a must. Doesn't matter if you're a founder of a business, wherever you are. You can't be a jack of all trades. You really need to know what your USP is. And I feel as though USP in this domain of what we do is just a very light word. It's pretty serious. You need to know what you're good at. Stick to that, and everything else will just carry you. Okay.
If you allow me to think, I remember a really good use case that we've been doing in the last, we'll say, 2 years. So I had a client that came to me at some point and said, like, I want to educate about a specific disease. I want the medical team to feel how it feels to have this chronic disease, to feel like this, to have this. So we have done a bunch of this, but everything started for a European company that we created a bowel disease virtual reality experience. And this experience used a haptic vest, that it follows a storyboard, a storyline. It's a script that we call a scripted storyline. That means you don't interact. It's A to B. We take you and you learn. That's it. You don't have choice of path. You have mini games in between, So one of the symptoms of this experience, of this disease, which is it was a bowel disease, is that your fingers feel numb. So we said, okay, how we do this on VR? So we have haptics on the controllers. So we created a mini game that you have a bowl of apples and fruits, and you say, oh, I'm hungry, I want to eat. So you grab the apple, you take a bite, and the haptics start vibrating, and you drop your apple. And you were, I was pressing the button, and then you have it say, okay, your fingers feel numb is a symptom. We use visual effects to make feel depression, nausea, and of course the bowel the bowel vibrations that we use in the haptic vest for. We added, I remember at the time as well, some ACs, because feeling cold is another of the symptoms. So we use all of this through Unity, which is the game engine, to connect all these different pieces of hardware to give you like a realistic feel of how you will feel being that specific patient. And this was used to raise awareness across Europe. It was used here in South Africa as well, for HCPs, doctors, nurses, and it was really good in terms of education.
For the audience, if you have any questions, if you want to ask anything, please feel free to jump in anytime. This is not just about us, it's a two-way conversation that we're going to have. So if you have any questions, please feel free just to ask. Do we have any questions in the audience? Daniel? Yeah, anyone? No, okay. We have a question that I must ask you. What would you suggest founders and the text developers do to strike a balance between creating fun, rewarding experience, and avoiding the trap of superficial learning, so the engagement actually leads to real depth and impact?
So I probably touched on it a little bit before. I think it's all about your team, right? And to have the right people in the room when you're starting to build something like this out. And I know this sounds a bit cliche, but there should also be an empty chair in that room to represent the client or the customer, right? And I'll give you a very real story, right? Being a little bit vulnerable here, but I recently sort of brought on board our developers in Croatia into our League Star 3.0. So they've got skin in the game. They've been a part of the journey for the last 8-9 years since we sort of started the idea. And I brought them in for two reasons. Firstly, incredible capability when it comes to full tech stack and what they'll be able to achieve, and literally be able to sort of turn my sort of bumbling thoughts and ideas of what it should look and feel like into something that is really slick and really works. The other thing is to ensure that we're not focusing on that superficial bucket, right? And that ability to go, just remind me again, what's the objective of what we're trying to achieve here? Why are we spending so much time on something that is maybe only going to give us 5% penetration or 5% further engagement, where the bigger stuff is what we need to be looking at? So for me, it's the team, and to ensure that you have regular cadence. It's not like a formal sort of one-on-one, so to speak, but just making sure that you're checking in. How's it all going? What are we doing well? What are the even better ifs? And ensure that we sort of provide a ring-fenced time and space for those thoughts that come in. Because if you don't have it in the diary, and I'm an operations guy, right? Retail operations for, as you sort of said earlier, 30-odd years. I'm a big fan of discipline. My dad was in the military back in the day in the sort of the former Yugoslavia. Big on discipline, big on accountability, big on routine, big on process, to ensure that we create the time and space for those things, and when I say space, the psychological safety as well, of people be able to sort of bring what their best selves to work, to be able to sort of input and feedback correctly. That's what's helped us significantly with what we've been able to achieve in this gamification sphere.
So to add what you were saying, so yeah, 100% is the people. So we have an internal policy in gaming that is every hiree, every person who works with us needs to be a gamer. In fact, it's part of the questions in the interviews, like which game you play. And you have from people who play Dota, shooting games. I'm saying this because you need to be a gamer to understand what causes to you coming back to it. It's really different to have a development. To give you an example, that you grab this. Let's talk about VR. Or this can apply to augmented reality as well. That I have this bottle here. If I grab it like this, that's the feature, that's the function, that's any developer can do that. Right? It's the checklist. It's okay. We're able to take the bottle from the table. But what is really difficult to find is somebody who takes care of that. When you grab this bottle, the hands on VR wraps around the bottle properly, so you actually feel that it's realistic. When you pick it up, you have the sound effect that gives you the feeling that you're picking it up something. When you drop it, you have the sound effect that it drops. And those are details that only a gamer will understand. Because you're not delivering only functions, you're delivering something that it needs to cause retention. And retention is in the details. Retention is in the sound effects, in the particles, in the 3D models. All these are put together by our team that is in Egypt. And without them, without their input, it's really difficult to get those kind of details in place.
Going back to rights, wrongs, and ethics. Sorry, Danny, please. Let's go away. I think we're on the same track. Microphone's right there.
Oh, it's there. Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask. So with the gamification, you're kind of guiding behaviors towards a desired goal. So actually manipulating people specifically, or kind of. So I just wanted to know: are there any ethical concerns or boundaries that you have to work within, because you are guiding those behaviors?
Yeah. Listen, 100%, Daniel. So let me give you a quick story. When I came up with the methodology, right, we didn't have the technology yet. We were just using Excel spreadsheets and video and just a whole heap of good comms back before we developed LeagueStar. But there was a piece around making sure that they don't game the result, right? And when I mean game the result, manipulate the result in order to go up the ladder, right? So when we built this methodology, it was about ensuring that there was a calibration between behaviors and KPIs and metrics that we were looking at, right? Effectively, what LeagueStar is, we look at the KPIs and metrics, we turn them into point scoring, and then you've got your respective teams, whether you're individual or you're part of a location or whatever, you're up and down the ladder. And this is about a harmony of those KPIs. And when we first started, we were just focusing what I call the sexy KPIs, the front-facing ones, right? Revenue, transactions, margin, right? And as a result of that, the compliance, operational KYC, so know your customer, error rates, etc., they were being impacted. Why? Because they were being put on fire for them to make these really, really good. And as soon as we brought the other ones back in, we started to sort of see the behaviors calibrate again to ensure that if you're going to achieve these results, it needs to be done in a fair, equitable, and compliant manner. And did we have the answer from day dot? Absolutely not. But those initial learnings, and equally having the right people in the room going, listen, this is what I'm seeing on the ground, because we had champions on the ground, right? We call them a part of our management committee for the league. Our version of FIFA, right? Or we called them FIRA. And they were there going, listen, this is the behaviors I'm seeing on the ground regarding this league. There's some people that are honoring the intent, they're doing it correctly. There's others out there that are just wanting to get up to the top and do the cheat codes, right, at any expense. So that sort of played heavily into when we started to build out the technology. But equally, when you speak to a client, it's like, what is your regulations landscape? What regs do you need to comply with? And is there anything significant from a central bank point of view, or whatever may have you, data privacy, terms of use, disclaimers to the customer? Like, we check it all, because what we want to do is ensure that we amplify and unlock the best potential out of the individuals to deliver great for the business, as opposed to those individuals going, how can I get a shortcut here? So it's a great question. It's something that if there's something that keeps us up at night, it's the compliance element of the behaviors when we employ our technology.
You nailed it.
Nailed it. Opportunity. Where are we going to be in the next 10 years? Let me throw it the other way. Where do you think the business is going to fit in?
Our respective businesses.
businesses that are out there that need to be on there? What do you think they need to do, or where do you think they need to go? I'll come backwards.
Okay, so that's a really good question. We have worked in a couple of projects that makes me see that gamification is going is getting into the big corporations. I will say in 10 years from now, I think with AI it's kind of difficult to predict over 2 years, honestly. Yeah. But in 10 years from now, all of us are going to have friendly assistants, AI assistants, that are going to have gamification features in it. That means we're going to be able to tell them how good they are. We're going to be able to get reports. We're going to be able to get rankings of who made the best questions, or who was the best assistant, AI assistant. That's from the AI aspect. In fact, as we're creating a product related to AI, which is we're trying to gamify as much as we can. But at the same time, we're going to have onboarding processes. Imagine onboarding processes nowadays. Companies, how much time they invest in new people coming in? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? I mean, we have a client, it's a beauty company here, it's an international beauty company, and they told me, like, we spent 2 months on onboarding new customers, new employees. I was like, okay, what do you do? It's like, no, we have to get these presentations and that. So they told, send me everything, we were going to create a concept for you. And we create a whole onboarding process, which instead of me using human time, I just give you a headset and send you home. You know, it's like do it, and then the HR manager gets feedback. Okay, Simon completed level 1, so I'm onboarded on the mission, vision of the company. Simon completed level 2, I'm onboarding on the beauty products, etc., etc. In 10 years from now, we're going to see more of those in companies. We're going to see more trainings on virtual reality. We're going to see more people wearing headsets instead of looking at screens. Because the technology it will get there, and as I mentioned, kids are going to be adults, and those kids are going to drive that change. And gamers nowadays of 35 years old, they're going to be the decision makers, and that's going to drive the change, I would say.
You know what really surprises me is. During COVID, how fast we actually adapted to technology and the net and everything else.
Remote working.
Remote working, for example. But a lot of things, a lot of the people that were very blind and not there.
Not convinced.
You're not convinced became part of it. And I'm seeing that shift again, where we're stepping back into stuff. And I'm surprised that companies still, like, they're doing this mundane task of what you said about onboarding clients. And you know, these things should be, I walk around with maintenance companies, and if you ask them, oh, this lift isn't working, they'll go all the way to the top. You don't need that. If you go back 10 years ago, when did QR codes come out? If you just stick a QR code over there, you know exactly what happened there. You can put a camera there, you can do a walkthrough. The amount of money they can save is super. In terms of gamification, how can we build awareness and take our love for the product closer to the customers that we are trying to bring up?
Think about your phone. Think about how many games you have in your phone. It doesn't need to be a game. It can be an app.
Sports app.
Can be a sports app. Can be a. I mean, I'm not a TikToker. Yeah, I'm too old for that. But that's full of gamification. So what do you need to convince is just look at your phone and see what you do every day to day with your apps, how engaged you are, how you open that Instagram, how you open that Facebook. Yeah, we have the algorithms 100%. The algorithm help you on that. But nowadays games, for example, you have this new GTA that is coming. It will use AI. It will use algorithms to keep you engaged. Roblox, imagine Roblox. Roblox uses this a long time ago. Just look at what is happening right now. Look at how much a Nintendo Switch cost. And when you see, for example, to give you another example, the price of consoles nowadays, the amount of consoles that the companies sell nowadays compared to 20 years ago, is because of a reason that the people that they're aiming now, they have the money to buy the consoles. Before that, the parents were the ones buying them. So see how many units of Nintendo Switch sold. And those units of Nintendo Switch 2, they're not young kids buying a $700 handlet. they're like grown-up men that they like playing Mario Kart. So just look around you. Should be enough to convince you.
Anything for us?
Listen, I think if you look at, today, what is it? Gamification globally worth 15 point something billion, right? The CAGR on that is about 13%. 4 years, it's going to be about 48 billion, right? And I think that's underestimating where things are, because back to what Simon said, everything is gamified, right? Even if you don't really feel it and see it, everything is. You look at when you're sharing content, right? There are particular methods and a science to gamifying that in a particular way where that increases sharing by 22%. It can increase commenting by 13%. Websites that have got gamification on them increase their activity by 29%. And these are conservative numbers. I mean, if you do some of the research now, sort of the range is quite broad, right? Productivity, in business, we're not talking single digits, we're talking double digits and significant. Engagement, 60% engagement straight away. Team cohesion, up around 87%. Retention. You mentioned retention, right? So, Simon, you look at, so for a fact, companies that have gamification and introduce some kind of methodology to that, whether it's onboarding, whether it's in performance, whether it's in their learning, in whatever respect, those companies have a 69% better chance of retaining those employees for 3 or more years, right? Now, if you think about the money that those companies are paying from onboarding, because it's a revolving door, you go, do we focus on more or better onboarding, or do we focus on that? I mean, the answer is both, right? But it's a bit like a nightclub, right? You line up in the nightclub, you walk in, if the DJ is good, the drink's at the right price, the vibe is good, you're going to stay. But if you walk in and the front of the club looks really good, i.e. the onboarding part, and then you walk in and go, it's a bit ho-hum, it's sort of similar to everywhere else, there's nothing in here that's keeping me engaged, people vote with their feet, right? So there is this how do you get them in, how do you retain them? And that's what effectively comes down to, is the engagement, right? Gamification is just one of a few. It's a very good one because we believe in it, right? But it's an extremely good engagement strategy, right? That really underpins all of those behaviors that we're looking to tap into and hold on to.
I personally have a lot of investors coming to me. I have, and this is one of the reasons we actually did this topic. It's going to be big. It's coming, and it's just going to get larger. The market size is huge. Not many people are actually investing in that, but investors who are smart, they're actually looking into it. What are the key things they should be looking at when they're actually investing in gamification companies? By the way, have you guys raised anything? Have you raised any investment?
We are personally, we're fully bootstrapped, nice. And there's a reason for that. Listen, it could be an option down the future, but I think at day end, when you've got a vision and a mission and you want to sort of try to protect that and build that out and prove it, and gamification is one of those things where it's very broad, right? Yeah. And we're sort of working in a particular niche. So we tested it out over about a 4 or 5 year period, getting a client, building something real quickly, testing it, iterating it, then selling that onto another client, getting more clients on board, and then sort of, it's the revenue wheel, right? Foregoing my personal salary, push it back into the business, and now we're at a place now where sort of our biggest investment to date, sort of around about $500,000 USD into this new platform, right? And we're pretty excited about it. But when you look at, back to your point, sort of what should they be looking for? Listen, I think AI, and we talked about this, AI has to be, it's a staple part of the diet now, right? Now, whether that is from a coding point of view, an interface point of view, Simon's doing some awesome stuff in this space as well. That's got to be in there, right? So you've got that element, but then also you've got has it been tried and tested, right? Because that's the big thing as well. And also, what are you gamifying? We look to gamify the entire business ecosystem, right? Where it touches all the activities, all the behaviors in the system, an overarching view. And then we have our little pillars that come underneath that. So we've got something specific for education or learning or training or whatever may have you. So I think it's about sort of what is it they're gamifying, how they're gamifying it. And the proof is obviously in the pudding with what they've done with prior clients. and are they still with them? And if not, why? Because sometimes you do outgrow the clients. The client does go, listen, it's maybe not for our audience, that's fine. But they're probably the key things that I would keep an eye on.
So on my case and Gaming's case, we divided the company in two different, I would say, departments. We have services and we have products. In products, we're working on a couple of products which are related to gamification. But services, what we do is provide custom solutions for different industries. No, we haven't. We have raised small amounts from friends and family, but we've been mostly growing these 8 years, 10 to 15 flat every year, and with a strong belief that we keep growing. But on the side, we are creating this AI bot that I mentioned that the whole idea is to include gamification with artificial intelligence. All of us know the GPT, right? GPT is a platform that you just load a document that you can speak with the document. You can write to the document answers back. You get a full understanding of this document. You can ask whatever question you want. You don't have to read it. You just get the information you want. We know that because we live in Dubai. But the lady who lives in Texas, who has 45 years old, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know how to use it. So what we're doing is including gamification in a platform, in a tool, because thanks for mentioning it, by the way, that allows to create a friendly robot on demand that you can deploy anywhere, and this guy will talk to you, and me as a company, for example, I can create a HR new policy, and I don't need to, I can send the document. I know that nobody will read it. I can deploy a custom bot that is deployed on the reception, and you can go and ask whatever. And then next year I have another document, I just update that bot. And it comes to the question of always confidentiality, right? So the whole idea of this is to deploy that locally and manage it through a dashboard online. So gamification is, for me, is the easiness for the user to use a tool, and the entertainment or reward that it gets for using this. So it doesn't need to be difficult. It needs to be just 2 clicks, and I have a tool ready, deployed, and that is easy for people to learn from it, interact with it, talk with it, and AI is not yet there. But so we're doing 2, and the services is mostly custom solutions. So yeah, I would say gamification is key to engage retention for the end users, especially for the end users.
And now that was for the investors, for the founders. If there is, do you have a product for a giveaway that you'd want to build that's not been done and you want to see being done?
Yep, we're doing it now. So
it's not mine, right?
It's not yours. No. 2017, I had this idea to put the game in gamification. It's a great line. What the hell does that mean, right? It was, gamification for me is not just leaderboards and it's about really bringing the element of game, that real sort of sport feel, that ownership, accountability, discipline that you see from athletes, right? When they sort of speak about their performance, they don't blame the player, they don't blame, if it's tennis, the tennis balls were a little bit too fluffy, or, that someone kept going to the bathroom. They accept it. They go, you know what? It was a tough one today. Simon was a better player. Kudos to him. I've got a few things to work on, but I'll be back bigger and stronger next time you see me, right? That's what we're seeing now within our people. Now, what I want to do is I want to sort of bring the real entertainment value to our app, right? We have this plugin called Data Player, right? It's moving through a patent at the moment, and effectively what it does, it's an integration to Leaguestar, but it's also a standalone integration into CRMs and any other data lakes. It basically grabs the data and plays out the data in a story, right? We have 2 of them at the moment that we built. We've got many others that we're going to build. So one is like, let's say it's team against team. So, you know, let's say Starbucks JBR against Starbucks City Walk, right? And they go, right, I see all the data in the app, you know, you can see where it is, and then go to the highlights reel as you would in a sports app, and you hit highlight, play highlight, and actually see the 2 teams on a football pitch playing against each other, and the scores are denoted by their performance in a particular metric, revenue, transactions, customer service, what I have. But you see your performance play out. You have the narrative over the top. AI now can do that. So you can put in, sound like a English football pundit. Easy done. It comes over the top. It extracts the data. It gives the review of this is what we're building now. And then we have one for F1. So if it's like a, you know, player versus player, basically the data builds the racer. The better you perform, the better you perform on the track. If you don't perform that well, you've got a pit stop, tyre blowout, so on and so forth. But this is sort of proper grade video game, but it's done in a sports reel highlight so that's what we're doing. That for me is bringing real life narrative to the data, as opposed to it just being, and I don't want to say it's sort of just cold metrics, but they're just, you know, they're on the page, they can look good and all that, gamified badges and whatnot. Yeah, we do that really well, right? But it'd be great to sort of see that visually, right? So think about this, and I'll finish on this point. Monday morning, right? Me versus, you know, back in the day, you know, let's say 10, 15 years ago, jamming reports down my sales consultants' throats saying, this is how you performed last week, go through the 20 pages and have a look. Versus they turn up on Monday morning, go in the back room, grab a coffee, and on the screen in the back room like this, you've got countdown to the race or countdown to the football match that goes for 120 seconds, and they're watching their performance play out. And then once it's done, then the app releases the full data, and then they can go in and dive in and go, right, where did I miss? What could have I done better? How did I go? And that's what we're bringing. We're bringing that real next level immersion to people's engagement with themselves and the business and their results, in the hope for them to be the best possible version of themselves. That's what we're trying to do.
I think he'll be. I can feel in your voice the passion.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty passionate about this. Yeah.
I mean, let's bring it out there. I'm all about it.
So there is this platform. Okay, so you have 2 major game engines, right? You have Unity and Unreal. We mostly use Unity because it's scalable. It's cost efficient to scale. Instead of, Unreal looks amazing, extremely sexy, but it's expensive to scale. Unity is an extremely good engine that you can go from virtual reality to metaverses to digital twins, etc. There is this platform. Okay, so a while ago, around, I would say 5 years ago, we were creating already WebGL experiences. WebGL is basically running a 3D experience, a 3D game on a website. Which in the past, you know, augmented reality was usually done through an app. You have to download the app to use augmented reality. Now you can do it through a website. So WebGL is something similar. So we created a couple of experiences on WebGL. And I saw this platform coming out that is called Spatial.io. And these guys, they came out doing metaverses. But they didn't create the metaverse. They created a platform that allows you to create metaverses.
Metaverse, yeah.
And you can generate virtual spaces, virtual Roblox on demand. And I was looking at the time, I was like, oh, we can do something like this. we have the capabilities, technical capabilities. But at the time, as you mentioned before, we were about, okay, we need to get the deal. We need to get so you're more focused more in the individual projects than the actual vision, right? And now that platform, if you visit it right now, it's a game creation engine. It's a website that you can create your own games in Unity without code, and it's basically YouTube, but for games. So you go to the website, you can play, you log into the game that Simón developed, and you have viewers, just like you have in YouTube. You have traffic, just like you have in YouTube. You have analytics, just like you have, and you can even create marketplaces inside the experience. And every time that I see now how that specific platform grew, I always thinking, why I didn't jump on that? Because that's how the technology. WebGL is only going to get better. Internet is only going to get faster. So it's like And kids nowadays, they learn in schools with Roblox. They create spaces in Roblox. So having a platform that allows you to do that, for me, is like, I miss the train. I miss the train on that one.
Just a real life case. A client came to me prior to COVID. And they said, Dil, need your help? He said, yes, how can I help you? He said, I need to get into this particular hotel. So they're into tourism. They're a travel desk. You know how expensive a travel desk is? So just a simple travel desk in Dubai on a 4-star hotel, you're looking around about, depending where they are, anything from 50,000 to 70,000 just for that one single desk. Then on top of that, that's a rental space, right? You got the marketing, you got the manpower, everything else that you could make. So when they came to me and I was like, that's a bit dumb. Why would you physically waste all this? Because when people actually come into the country, why can't I control them before they actually get on the fly? Because they're booking the flights, right? So why can't I do it like that? So that's when I found out about the application. Why don't I create a metaverse? Because you're already working at that one, we used to have TomTom, which is the, for this, now back in UK, we used to have TomTom. I was like, okay, we've already got all the technology. We've got the metaverse, you can go and build it. Why don't you put physical locations and everything? Then you can have cars promoting people, gamification. And on that note, somebody actually in Croatia is working on this. And I'm hoping that this comes to us sooner the better. But it is fun, it's a lot of fun. Before you come down here, you know exactly what Marriott looks like. Before you walk in here, you know what Emirates Spotlights look like. It's become a huge space.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to do something like this and you want to test out ideas, talk to ideas, we have a lot of people that we're in conversation to. Okay, like Simon said, you don't have to build everything. Some of the things are already built. All you need to do is collaborate. Do we have any questions? Sorry.
I wanted to ask, I think we all agree that the main goal of gaming in general is entertainment. Do you agree?
So just repeat
The
that
main goal
Yep.
of gaming is entertainment.
Yeah, you could.
But we also agree that it's time consuming and it also could be addictive sometimes when it comes to games, right? Gaming. The question is, have you guys ever thought about making it? I heard you earlier, you said something about adding value. Have you guys ever thought about making some games a little bit educational? Make them, teach, especially younger generation, some skills, because most of the time, unfortunately, the younger generation, they just get addicted to just games. So have you guys ever thought of that?
I have done a couple of educational experiences, especially for students. But the thing is, it's not only about entertaining, right? So to put you in my case, I grew up with video games. I've been a gamer my whole life. I have from the first PlayStation, Nintendo 64. I used to play with my brothers. I learned English because of video games. I learned because my whole background is I've always been on sales and business. I learned not how to code, but how development works, how 3D design works because of games. So that's why I mentioned Roblox before. Because Roblox, yeah, some kids are addicted, 100%.
Directly, you learn some skills.
But indirectly, they're learning how to create game environments. Indirectly, they're learning how to. That's why I was mentioned before that those kids are going to be adults, and those kids are going to see platforms, metaverses, way different than we currently see it. Because as I see games, that for me it was a tool to learn English. It will become eventually a tool that will learn you to learn ethics of the company, company culture, any mission, vision, products. But for kids, the problem is like when you talk about development, you need somebody who believes in that. And usually the decision makers, as I mentioned before, they see it as it is. Oh, my kid's addicted to Roblox. But have you played Roblox? Have you played Roblox? Have you see what he does? He not only go and talk with people, he actually creates mini economies that they run, and the people come and work, interact, and mini economies that 𝐓𝐞𝐡 𝐓𝐞𝐡 is the adults pay to take the kids to work for fake money. That's Roblox, but in a 3D environment. And you have bad things, yes. Addiction is a bad thing. Lack of regulation as well is a bad thing. But with it, you have many good things. That they're teaching how the modern world works, how coding works, how development works. You have even games out there that teach you with treasures, with maps, with quests, how to code. And until the schools don't see this platform and say, oh, I'm gonna implement this for the kids to learn how to code, instead of me taking them to the same room full of computers, talk about with a whiteboard, and until the schools don't see that, it's gonna be really difficult to create educational platforms, gamified educational platforms for the youngs.
You mean they could learn, but like in a more fun way?
100%.
But you do also agree that, yeah, it teaches them some things or some skills, but indirectly, that's the best case scenario, that some kids would learn something indirectly, but some kids, they just take the other route, unfortunately.
And they just have a good time.
Yeah. But what I was asking is are you planning to teach people directly, or teach kids at least, especially the younger kids, when they grow up and when they get exposed at such a young age?
I have had a couple of schools coming at me asking for example, redo the whole curriculum in a virtual experience. And everything comes to the same thing. You have a CFO, you have a CD. And so it comes, okay, yeah, great. Which curriculum you no, I have 3 years of 3 years that I want to digitize. Okay, but that doesn't come for free. I mean, and when at the moment you start working on the call it the proposal, or they say, oh no, this is no, I would prefer to keep doing how traditional things are done. So it can be done. It's been doing in small. There you have a couple of companies that they do it. You have, for example, companies that specialize on training with airlines. You have companies that specialize on training with fire prevention, the PASS method. But until organizations don't see the value in it and invest in those platforms, it's not going to happen. And I coming back to the same thing that I've been saying since the beginning. Is I will give it 10 years. Because I want those kids that are playing Roblox to be decision makers. And then when that happens, they're going to have, hopefully, a mentality that the one that I have. That is I don't see games as a waste. Yeah, I waste a lot of time in games. I still do. I still lack of sleep. I still sleep 4 hours because of games, because it's the only time that I can play is between 11 and 12. But they teach me a lot of things as well. So yeah, hopefully that answers this question.
Very good. Just to touch on one thing, I'll tell you how beautiful gamification is. So I have a 14-year-old. Yesterday he called me, frantically was calling me. So I thought something's wrong. He said, have you seen what's happening around the world? I said, yeah, I have. He said, can we please just quickly invest in gold and crypto? And I was like, excuse me, you've been ringing me 11 times just to tell me that. Whether I love you. He said, I love you, that's why I'm asking you to invest in crypto and this gold.
No, when it comes to that cannot wait. I'm with him.
I was like, yes. He said, I told you I should open a crypto company a long time back. I should open a coin and everything. And it's been going on for years. Look, like you said, everything has its pros and cons, right? If you can be rooted the right way, everything works. People say to me, Meta doesn't work and Google doesn't work and every single thing. Then the same people come and complain to me, oh, because of Meta, I lost this to this customer. And because of Google, I lost to that customer. Well, go and find out what the customer has done that you're not doing. Right? They've done something right and you'll do it. There is a right way of doing things, wrong way of doing things, the timing for everything. Right? For me, coming back, onboard it, see it through, walk the walk, talk the talk. The biggest problem, the decisions maker that we have, we've become no ministers of being scared and being vulnerable of losing our jobs. Because we're scared the fact that I have a target and a label and expectation from me. If I take one wrong decision, that's it. So rather than trying to onboard these experiences which are amazing, and it's making, especially if you look at the top Fortune 500 companies, what are they doing? They're the ones actually implementing it. They don't have a magic sauce. They are doing what me and you can do, what these gents are doing, right? For especially the SMEs that I actually work with, be open-minded, right? Onboard these practices, go and do it. You guys are great believers, communities, and I believe that's what you're building. This is what the pod show is. The pod show is a community. I like to do things in very small numbers. I'd rather have 5-6 people and have that one-on-one, back and forth banter, have a real conversation, then have room full of 40-50 people. Cheyenne was telling me earlier that when you go there, you've got 14 people and you get quality conversations, right? Whereas when I go to a big event, right, in the evening, everyone's drinking, the music is loud, and I don't meet half of the people. Do we have any conversations or can we move on? Yes.
So I just want to ask you, what do you think will be a major change or major change maker in the industry of gaming? For example, like after 5 years, what will be that one thing which would have been changed the whole face of gaming? Do you have any predictions or any?
I mean, AI, 100%. AI is making everything so easy. So to give you an example, grabbing what you just said about your son, GTA, right? GTA is the most popular game, most sold game in history. We're talking about GTA 5. Now it's coming out GTA 6. And you have groups of people that they're already planning to open economies in GTA 6 because there are a lot of people that they become millionaires selling in GTA 5. And in the GTA as an example, AI will allow to create NPCs, real NPCs, realistic NPCs. NPCs is a non-playable character for the people who doesn't know. Real characters that they have their soul by its own. So, well, not soul, but LLM by its own. Coding is going to become way easier. 3D modeling is going to become way easier. Now you have tools that allows you to with a prompt, create a 3D model. This 3D model is maybe not be perfect, but it's going to get there. It's going to get there. Give it 2 to 3 years. But AI is going to change the whole thing. It's going to create a platform that allows you to create games like this with a prompt. And those games can be used in education, can be used on, because now the biggest barrier of entry is the cost. You have to invest in the platform. Doesn't matter how much money you know it will save you, you still have to invest in it. Yeah. That's why companies like 𝐓𝐞𝐜𝐡, they have a whole department of AI. They have a whole department of modern technologies, of gamified solutions. But in 10 years, AI will change the whole game.
It's going to be a realistic.
Will allow you.
It already is real.
It is extremely
It's always real.
But will allow you to create your own games and will allow companies to create cost-effective solutions that are gamified.
The only thing I would add to that, low code, no code already exists now. So you'll need to have a raft of developers. You don't need it anymore. The other thing that I would say is that, and we're doing some stuff in this space, is Web3, right? The transparency, the trust, and the empowerment that brings to Web2, right, to today's sort of, it is huge. And now, don't get me wrong, there are some, connotations regarding Web3 crypto. There's the dark side and whatnot. But when you look at the blockchain technology, when you look at sort of what it enables and how it brings a shared trust, a protocol of shared trust rather, between whether it's consumers, businesses, or advertisers, or whatever may have you, to create real engagement, to start to move away from fake reviews and fake. I don't want to say fake news, but like paid reviews and whatnot, right? Where it's sort of getting back to verified on blockchain record. It was a real consumer, went to a real place, did a real review, and therefore it's all been verified publicly. And that is a big thing that I think is going to come into the gaming space. Simon mentioned GTA 6. There will be a time and place, and there are some games out there that already exist on Web3 that sort of adopt that principle of verification, public verification. So that's the next thing I think we're going to see a lot more of.
Regards to verification, how real this is. I was reading an article the other day, and there's a business case what they're told that they've done a data search where people are going in and relying on what's on the blockchain and what Web3 is saying, because that data can be changed once you've done. Whereas we can do that. So this is going to become a reliable source, and it's going to be trusted as equally as that. Now, if that can be turned into awareness and gamification, that's going to be a big thing for tomorrow. Yes.
So, talking about the GTA.
Can you please introduce yourself? Who are you?
My name is Sasro.
Scooby.
Scooby, yeah.
Yeah.
So they call me Scooby. I'm with the team member at Podcast here. So I'm a UI UX designer here, and so I'm into gaming. So I've been doing gaming for a long time. So talking about the GTA, I'm a huge fan of GTA, and yeah, GTA 6 is coming
See,
out.
we have a client right there.
There you go. There you go.
So GTA 6 is coming out, and like it's way too much real right now. So what are your thoughts on suppose if the game like GTA, so you can do anything in GTA, like buy house, business and everything. So if it comes to in AR thing, so you will play GTA in AR, then there won't be any point of getting off the game and living the real life, because you can do anything in the AR realm, right?
Ethical issues there.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
In terms of the social aspect of that?
Yeah.
How will, I think it depends, man.
The question is dying to ask. Can I actually get married and have girlfriend from that? That's what he's going to ask.
I will give you an example with another platform that is called VR Chat.
There you go.
There is, in fact, a couple of days ago, I saw this article of this guy who fell in love with the AI, with GPT thing. So there is a platform called VR Chat that allows you to, there are people that spend weeks on the platform without removing the headset. The technology will get there. But if you ask me about if GTA will move or Rockstar Studio will move, no. It will come to the individuals who are going to be creating the platform, because as I mentioned before, AI is huge. AI will allow you to create your own GTA. AI will allow you to create not with a prompt, with many prompts, will allow you to create a whole platform. So it will not be longer your GTA. It will be everyone will have their own GTA, so to speak. So the social aspect, we always have that challenge. The more technologically advanced we become, the more isolated we will become. That's why instances like this are important. I always say, because many people get worried about their jobs. I think my job is quite safe because my job is about people. Clients don't trust in gaming; they trust in me. And that is something that I will not take. And on your case, if you're a gamer, touch grass. So I would say suggest that. It's in the future, don't worry about GTA, worry about individuals' development that anyone is going to be able to create through AI.
Every great thing has to come to an end. I am grateful and thankful to both of you
Thank you.
for giving us this opportunity. I am going to have a one-on-one podcast with you, which you're going to share all across. Thank you to all the attendees. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you again for being here.